it's not going to affect other executive orders, but it may hem him in the future because he may have to find a new law or get Congress to pass a law to bless these tariffs. And it's unlikely to do that because Congress and Republicans who control it, many of them have been skeptical of tariffs. They've seen how it's affected the economy. They don't want to have to run for re-election for the midterms.
Well, let's cross to the United States right now, where President Donald Trump's tariffs are causing even more of a stir than usual. Federal appeals court has ruled that the US leader has no legal right to impose high levies on imports from other countries. The decision from a US Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit said that Mr. Trump has overstepped his authority on the matter, but tariffs have been left in place for just the moment. But someone who definitely doesn't think his leader is stepping out of line is Steve Witkoff, the US Special Envoy to the Middle East. He had this to say in a cabinet meeting yesterday.
And there's only one thing I wish for, that noble committee finally gets its act together and realizes that you are the single finest candidate since this Nobel Award was ever talked about to receive that reward. Beyond your success is game-changing out in the world today. And I hope everybody one day wakes up and realizes that.
We were saying here in the office, everybody needs a Steve Witkoff in their life, someone who just praises them. I mean, that was the theme of that cabinet meeting. You went round to each member and they all started by praising Donald Trump and his achievements. But here's what Donald Trump thinks about himself.
Not that I don't have the right to do anything I want to do. I'm the president of the United States. If I think our country's in danger, and it is in danger in these cities, I can do it. But it would be nice if they'd call and they'd say, would you do it?
He was referring there to putting the state troops on the ground, as he did in Washington, D.C. Let's welcome Daniel Lippman, Washington, D.C. and White House reporter for Politico. Daniel, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's focus on this court ruling. What exactly have they said? Why are they objecting to Donald Trump's tariffs?
So a lot of these tariffs were put in place under a 1970s law called IEEPA, which deals with economic emergencies. And what they said is that you can't call a trade deficit, a long-standing trade deficit that Trump says that these countries have with the U.S., and call it an emergency if it's been an emergency for decades. And with fentanyl and other tariffs, there may be more reasons to put in those tariffs, but this is a really devastating blow for Trump because it undermines a major part of his economic agenda and could hurt the Treasury from collecting the billions of dollars of tariffs they have been collecting every month in pursuit of Trump's economic nationalism theme.
Daniel, isn't this how Donald Trump has been doing business since the start of the year? This is why Congress has been sidestepped. He doesn't have to go to Congress for most of his executive orders because they are signed, not all of them, but they are signed under some context that there is a national emergency and therefore the president can bypass Congress. Is this going to have a knock-on impact on some other of Trump's executive orders?
I think that it's not going to affect other executive orders, but it may hem him in the future because he may have to find a new law or get Congress to pass a law to bless these tariffs. And it's unlikely to do that because Congress and Republicans who control it, many of them have been skeptical of tariffs. They've seen how it's affected the economy. They don't want to have to run for re-election for the midterms if the inflation is higher because of these tariffs. And if this court ruling is upheld by the Supreme Court, and it's going to go to the Supreme Court in the next few months, then what happens to all of the tariffs that these companies have paid to the government? Do they get refunds? And does Trump try to block those refunds as well, saying, hey, this is U.S. Treasury money. This is my bag of money that I want to do what I want with it.
Gosh, that's going to be a huge decision coming out of the Supreme Court. Also, we heard a clip there from Steve Witkoff. We saw that cabinet meeting. They haven't changed much, those cabinet meetings. It's very much each personage, head of the State Department, basically praising Donald Trump and his achievements before giving a very brief update on their own work that they've done in their own departments.
Yeah, it's a little like how Putin runs his cabinet meetings, where he gets a lot of praise from his advisors. And so what's also interesting is that you have earlier this week, there was a 3-hour cabinet meeting televised live. And I don't know how long it was held in private, too. So this was mostly just a show. And Trump basked in the admiration. And it kind of surpasses the first term in those cabinet meetings. And so it's all about the Donald here. And this is not what we saw under Biden or Bush or Obama in terms of how their cabinet meetings proceeded. There's, of course, some praise for their boss, but nothing at the level of this.
Now, also, one other piece of news that Donald Trump has ended security protection for Kamala Harris. Is that traditional for someone who is a former vice president to lose their security protection?
So by law, former vice presidents get 6 months of Secret Service protection after after they leave office. President Biden extended that for a year for Harris, but now Trump has overridden that extension and kind of left Harris to fend for herself. She is not. She and her husband are quite well off, especially since her husband is a law partner at a major law firm, and so he's amassed a good amount of money over the years, and so they will have to hire private security if they want to be protected. But this is in league with what he's done in terms of stripping former top aides as well of their security. John Bolton, Brian Hook, Mike Pompeo all had their security details ended because of, I'm not sure about Mike Pompeo, but a lot of these people who had approved the strikes on Iran, on Soleimani during the first term, they had serious threats from Iran, and Trump said, I don't care, they're critics now, so they can fend for themselves.
And just finally, Daniel, there seems to be in the corners of the internet that one should never really look at, but concerns about the president's health. The White House has addressed, particularly he's had some bruising in his hand. They've said, look, this is down to a medical condition. The president is fit. He's healthy. He's being constantly monitored. He's fine. Does the White House still need to deal with these rather often quite bizarre claims in corners of the internet, because they are picking up traction?
They are. This is a topic of conversation. Trump has previously gotten letters from his doctor saying he is in perfect shape. And so they kind of, I'm sure they work on that with they coordinate those types of letters with the White House press office. But it is creating some concern because he's a very old president. He is the second oldest after Joe Biden. But so far he seems to be pretty energetic. So as long as his hand is okay, I think that we're going to see him for quite some time, and as long as he's hitting the golf course, I don't think there's anything to worry about right now.
Daniel, thank you. Daniel Lippman, the Washington D.C. White House reporter for Politico.